Hello, welcome to Model Kit Stuff. My name is Jason. This is First Impressions Day and we're looking at this HMS Coventry, a Type 42 guided missile destroyer from a company called Foreart, who have only been around for a couple of years. So let's take a look. Yes, hello, welcome to Model Kit Stuff, First Impressions Day, and we're looking at this really interesting plastic model kit. So the company Foreart, as far as I can ascertain, has been around since 2023. They're a Chinese manufacturer, and like a lot of Chinese company, they have a Western name and a Chinese name, which you can get on the side of the box. The Nanjing GZ Models and Toys Co Limited. So whether they've been making toys before and this is just the first foray into modelling, I don't know. They have a small number of kits out. But quite interestingly, for a new company, they've not come out and started going, yeah, here's our Spitfire. They've come out and they've gone straight into a market that some manufacturers think is risky, and they've gone for an area where there's a big gap in the market. Why is there a big gap in the market? Well, usually it's because it's not commercially viable. You know, market research has said you won't make enough sales to make it viable. So it's really interesting that we've got a Cold War period British warship from a Chinese manufacturer. I mean, normally a Chinese manufacturer, a Japanese manufacturer, an American manufacturer, if they're going to make a ship, they're going to do something that had been spotted in the Pacific doing something or other. If you think about the Tamiya model ships, even the British ones, they all appeared in the Pacific at some point in the main. So yeah, it's completely unusual to go straight into this. It's definitely a ship that hasn't been done before in plastic. It has been done in resin. So very, very interesting that they've gone after this, and I'd love to know what the thought process was behind that. So if you're watching Foreart, please reach out to me and let me know what your thoughts were on this. But I'm really excited because I know a lot of people will go, yes, finally. So let's have a look. So our box is a flimsy lid. It's got images of the photo etch on what looks like a Turnbrast main gun, and some CAD images of the completed model. On this side we've got an item number of 3002, so I reckon it's probably their second kit release. Tells us that it's 1 to 350 scale and that the overall length of the model is 359 millimeters. On this side we've got a caution about ventilation. Says you have to be 15 plus, so I'm not sure what law they're aligning with, but it's usually 14 plus for photo etch. Main material is polystyrene plastic. Okay, so it gives you all that sort of information. The base of the box is a single corrugated box. It's relatively rigid, but it's not going to take much batting around. So just think about what you're going to do if you're putting this into your stash. And then what we get is we've got a fairly full box with various plastic parts, some in separate bags, some doubled up. They don't appear to be duplicated sprues, so yeah. And then we've got a lot of plastic bag waste here, really. Yeah, and then interestingly, clear parts for structures that have clear parts. Right, what we're going to do is we're going to dig down to the bottom, find the instructions, and we'll take a look at those. So our instruction manual is a full colour, stapled, nicely printed, bespoke size manual. It's slightly smaller than A4, it's not A5, so yeah, don't know. We've got the box art on the front there, which I have to say, I do like the box art. It shows it in port somewhere, maybe Hong Kong or something like that, don't know. Then we've got our key. So remove shaded parts, drill, I mean all standard stuff. Previous steps, code for replaced parts. And then it says guns Mr. Colour, so we must be using that for our paint system. Then we've got some instructions for applying decals. And once again, this warning about keeping ventilated when glue and paint is in use. Okay. Right, as we open the page, we've got a sprue map which is showing us all of our content. So you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sprues plus slide molded parts, 3-part hull and upper deck, 2 decal sheets. That's interesting. I think I've spotted something I really like. 2 photo etch frets, a display stand, and a metal barrel. So yeah, we'll have a look at all of that as we go through this. So step 1, we are building the hull. So we've got a waterlined hull and then a lower hull. So it doesn't say it's an option, but you know, clearly it is. So that's very interesting. We're removing some moulding tabs, and then we're building up the stern deck there. So we've got separate bollards, a rear bulkhead, winding gear. We've got photo etched doors going onto moulded in openings. That's very nice, I like that. Step 2, we've got photo etched ladder going in, and more details, little bits and pieces going in there. You get a fairly decent view of that deck, so it's nice that they're putting that detail in. And then there's navigation lamps at the back. Oh, and a hose pipe there. Then we've got more photo etch for the railings. Railings look like they're open railings, but they actually would have had nets on. So yeah, but you know, we've got them. A lot of kits at this scale wouldn't bother, so that's very nice. So we can see those going in. Then we've got step 5. We're turning it upside down. We've got shaft lines, the propellers going on there, rudders, and then we've got whatever they are. I mean, they look like rudders, but I don't know that they are or not. I don't know whether they... no idea what they are. Someone no doubt will tell me. Then we're putting the deck in. And then we've got an option for the base. I've got to say, the base is nice, but the uprights look a bit naff. So you might want to swap them out for something a little bit more elegant. Okay, then step 8, we're building up lower superstructure. Interesting to see we've got all the bridge detail in there, so that's really nice. Quite often that's just a void space, or you can't see through the windows anyway, so that's how Airfix have done it in the past. Yeah, so I really like that. Then we've got the base where the smokestack's going to come through, some equipment going on. Then we've got the bridge superstructure piece, which I've already seen and is a clear part. So all these windows are clear. You're going to mask them off and you're going to paint everything. Fabulous. Then we've got the radome going on top. We've got another couple of parts going in at the back there to square it off. Whether they're clear, I don't know. but those would be windows in those doors, so it'd be nice if they did. Right, then we're building up a bit more superstructure, which has got some form of ventilation, exhausts, the horn, radars and radio antenna and bits and pieces on. Step 11, and we've got gun emplacement mounts for various different things. Really? Trying to see where they... Oh, there it is, yeah. So we've got photo etched wipers for all the windows. That is stunning. That is... I've not seen that before. That is really nice. I've never seen it, 1/350 scale, I've never seen the wipers included in the kit. That's phenomenal. Okay. More photo etched doors going in. Looks like they're folded so that you've got an inner and outer, so you can easily have these open if you want to be on the bridge wing or something like that. It's really nice. Got some lockers going in. Life raft canister. Not quite sure what that is. Some form of little building, like maybe a radio building or something, radar or something like that, don't know. Okay, 2-part smokestack going in, deck gun, signal lamp, that looks like winding gear to me, more life raft canisters and various bits and pieces. Then step 13, we're building up the foremast. Fairly sure that's the foremast, or I don't know if it's a main, they call it a main mast, don't know when with modern ships. Okay, we've got exhausts going in. It looks like there's ladder detail and stuff already on there. Radars being built up, more photo etch. Yeah, really nice. I mean, these will be tiny parts. They look so much bigger on the instructions. 14, we've got a fixed boom there, and then we've got the mizzen mast going on. Or is that the foremast? That, don't know where that goes. Is that in front or behind? Yeah, that's in front. So that mast is behind. Ah, it's there. I missed it. So right. So foremast, main mast is where we're at then. Okay, we finally worked it out. Then we've got what. Not quite sure what that is. It looks like torpedo tubes. I'm not sure that's correct. We've got the cap going on, and we've actually got tubes going in the inside, so you'll be able to see that it's a tube. It's not a big empty space. So I really love that. That's really nice. More life raft canisters, some photo etch railings. More sort of radio spreaders going on. More photo etch doors, various bits and pieces, and I think that's antenna mount. Then we're doing some of the same stuff again that we did in 17, but on the other side, so they've broken that down. We've got a little photo etch cage going over there, so that's going to be very authentic looking rather than it being a big chunk of plastic. This is really, really nicely done. Yeah, more wipers going on. So they showed it on one side in the front, now they're showing us the other side, so that's really cool. Right, what we're doing there. Okay, so there's a deck edging piece going on, and we're doing that before we put the main part of the superstructure on. Okay, and then you've got the companionway ladders being stored there. They're plastic parts, so you've not got an option to have them drop down, which would have been nice, wouldn't it? Then we've got davits going on, ship's boat being mounted, and then on the other side, different type of ship's boat. So that's cool. Step 27, and we're starting to build up the hangar. Got bollards going in, Hangar walls. Hangar door looks like it's fixed closed, but there is detailing there, so maybe you can just not put it in and it looks like it's rolled up, possibly. I mean, this is upside down and you can see they've got all the roof detailing, so that would be open for me. And we've got the little dirigible, various other bits and pieces. I don't know what most of that is. Another radome, some pipe work of some type, all sorts of bits of tech and some lockers and things. Then we've got what look like rocket launchers being built up, so you can see that there. Yep, more communications equipment, more boats, more life rafts, more photo etch. Yeah, that's all pretty cool. Then we're putting that into place. Hangar. Okay, then we're on the forecastle of the ship. We've got the brakes going in, which seem to be multi-part, so there'll be lots of detail on those. We've got the base mount for the cannon, and the capstan going in as well. Right, okay, so the metal barrel is an option, so you do have a plastic barrel, but you can remove that and install a metal one. That's pretty cool as well. Yeah, another rocket launcher, sea darts or something like that. I don't know what was on it. Yeah, very nice, very nice. Anchor going in. Then we've got some the bollards, and I'm not quite sure what that is. Is that like a hose connector or something for washing down the deck or putting out fires? And then you've got the big cleats on the front there. More of the same. Then we've got a helicopter, so two parts. I don't know whether it's clear or not till we get digging in the kit. With separate wheels and open or closed rotor, which is nice. That looks like a Lynx, is it? Then we've got the jack staff at the back there, and then we've got photo etch stanchions with netting. Now they're only up when the helicopter is parked, so you could model that in the down position. Though they've not supplied it, you could just have them removed and that would be okay if you plan to have that ready for takeoff. If you want to have crew and stuff knocking around, then I'd do it that way. Then we've got railings, so there is railings for the complete kit, which is nice, not part of the kit. Mentioning No Names Trumpeter. Yeah, more railings going on. I'm questioning whether you'd put some of these railings on last. Some of these I would have put on before installation. But they're all there and it looks very nice and complete. Some of it you're going to have to bend. 47 steps in total completes your build. Then we've got a nice colour computer generated imagery of HMS Coventry. So yeah, pennant number, we've got a flag, we've got number on the funnel there, we've got the home port flag. Yeah, that all looks pretty cool. We've got decals for deck markings, which is nice, stern markings, and we've got depth markers. Yay, take that, trumpeter. We've also got the nameplate in red at the back, so all the major decals are there. Really nice. Then okay, we've got a Falklands War version, so 1982. So we've got the black recognition stripe and the aerial recognition Union flag, although we're allowed to call it a jack because it's on a ship, so Union Jack. And then we've got our paint list. So what we've got: Vallejo, Tamiya, and GSI, whatever that is. But I think that must be Mr. Colour or something. And then a list of what those colours are. So gold for the propeller, although you're better using bronze. Hull red, black, sea grey, grey, and there you go. So the sea grey will be for the decks, the darker grey, and then the ordinary grey, the lighter grey for hull and sides. Oh, well, that looks really nice. So, and then you've got this nice little picture of her, which is the box art that you can cut out and put in a frame if you want. I'm trying to work out what's said on the building. The Antrim, the Coventry, and the... can't quite read that. Of the Royal Navy. Oh. Anyway, nice that we've got a Falklands option in there. So, yeah, they looked like really good instructions actually. So I'm happy with those. Let's see what our decals look like. So decals are included with Ziploc bag. Now I suspect they'll do different variants of that destroyer because that's a batch one. There's different batches, so there's several different ships they can do, and if they're releasing them one kit at a time, then they've got plenty of scope there for re-releases. So let's have a look. There's no brand on those other than Foreart, so maybe they've made their own. So what I'd say is print looks really good. I mean, I can read Coventry and what have you there. Let me get you a bit closer. There we go. I can read Coventry very clearly on there. There's not much in the way of excess decal film. Only between the letters and numbers there really, in fairness. Even this, it's not a great big triangle of decal film, so quite impressed with that. And then we've got these markings here for the Falklands version. Might be easier to paint the stripe on if that's what you're going to do. And then you've got these here which are separate but obviously part of that marking. Yeah, and then the depth markers which look really nice. So you've got three different types of depth markers. They're not gone with just some generic numbers. That's good. And we've got the coat of arms there which go on the funnel, and the white ensign, Union Jack, and then the aerial recognition for... Yeah, I think I'd absolutely be doing the Falklands one. I remember Coventry at the Falklands very clearly, so yeah, that would be my way of going. What a lovely idea. Let's have a look at the photo etch. So the photo etch is looking very much like Flyhawk photo etch to me in terms of its style, the brightness of the material. You just get a feel for this. So it's very much Flyhawk style. Comes with adhesive protective stuff, which I'm not a big fan of, but yeah, very fine detail. Some of this will be very easy to distort, so proceed with care. Pre-paint where you can, but all looks good. You've got, there we go, we've got lots of doors on there, the little wipers for the windows, rotor blades, folded type and open type, and then some railings with netting and various other bits. And then on this one you've got the ladder that goes on the stern deck just there, and the rest of it is all railings, and they are very delicate, so they will be easy to bend. In fact, I've got a little bit of deformity and damage on mine anyway, so be very careful with these. Just cutting them out wrong is going to distort them, but of course you could build it without them and it wouldn't lose much. Right, time to get stuck into the parts. So I'm not doing these in any particular order. what I will do, as I always do, is I'll take up some close-up photographs, which after we've gone through all the sprues, we'll see before we round up. Right, first thing that strikes me is lots of slide moulding going on. Here you can tell by the shape of the frame. We've got some delicate parts. This is the deck edging that we saw going on, and we've got some bulkhead stuff. We've got the two-part ship's boat, which looks nice enough for this scale. It's got recessed windows, so will be easy to paint up. And then we've got this boat here, which is also 3D printed and has some very fine detail on the upper decks there. No propeller, but you know, if that floats your boat, you'll be able to get something like that off White Ensign models or something, I suspect. Really, really nicely done davits, very fine detail. The plastic is quite hard. Let me just get my nippers. It's hard, but it does cut really well actually, so that's nice. Yeah, the moulding is really crisp. Detail is lovely and tight, and there's lots of it. I mean, there's even little hand ropes on. I don't even know if you can see that. I'll try and get it on camera though. Little hand rope on the life raft canister. Yeah, so that's sprue M. Very nice. Sprue H, and we've got mast and smokestack parts here, along with some missile silos, or I said they might be torpedo silos. I have no idea what they are. Most likely to be surface to air missiles or something. Nice detail. All the moulding's crisp. There is a little bit of sink in the mast's face here. So where we've got these blocks, there's a little bit of pull. I don't know if we can get that in the light. There, I think you can see it there. Just tiny, probably won't even be noticeable under a matte paint, but if you do go satin, you will have to do something with that, definitely. Lots of nice tiny parts. They're all very crisp. No slide moulding on here, not needed. We've got ejector pins in the underside of those, probably not avoidable. Recessed, so you've got to fill them. Not sure how possible that will be, but it is the underside, so you might not see it too much. Got to put them somewhere, haven't they? Sprue A now, quite a busy little sprue, but the parts are laid out nice, and you know, it's easy to get in with your sprue cutter. There's no cramping of the parts, so I like that. Again, more slide moulding, so we've got detail on the end of the little missiles there. I mean, they look really cool. And again, on these aerial bases, they look really good as well. Lovely, lovely detail. Some really fine moulding of some very tiny parts. Yeah, all very nicely done. Yeah, I can't see any issues with any of that. Some of these parts will need some careful removal. Some of the sprue gates are quite thick for quite delicate parts, so you'll have to be careful with that. Probably worth removing part of the sprue first so you can handle it better. And we've got bits of aerial, signal lamps, again 3D printed, which is nice. And then we've got the forward gun turret. That's got a bit of seam clean up, but other than that is all good. Yeah. And generally these parts, there isn't much seam on them, so cleanup's fairly minimal. So yeah, I like them. Right, the base is next out of the box. Not much to say. It's in a brushed black plastic. I don't know if you can see the brush effect. Hey, it's nice enough. You've got multiple holes underneath, so you can position the stands where you want within this sort of range on both sides, although you do have these rather ugly casting moulding points right on the top, which is a real shame. So yeah, I think pedestals on this would look better, to be honest. Lower hull now, and gives you an idea of the size of this thing. So yeah, it's totally smooth, bereft of any detail whatsoever, which is correct, but it is welded, so you do get a bit of canning and stuff on there, which hasn't been depicted. But yeah, we do have the lip around the openings on the stern, which is right. There's a little bit of seam cleanup needed. You might be able to see there's a little step in it where there's a seam here, a slide moulding seam, but otherwise all good. Yeah, I don't see any sink or any imperfections. We've got our hawse opening and the seat for the anchor there, and actually the bow is really nicely done, nice and narrow. Yeah, that all looks spot on. Lower hull now, nicely moulded, again 3D, not 3, I was going to say 3D printed, what am I on about, slide moulded. We've got slide moulding seams along here, between here and between there. Yeah, that needs sorting. We've got connection points here, which look pretty horrible. I set another one here. They need taking out, filling and sanding smooth. That's a shame about those. The rest of the cleanup's fairly easy. It's quite smooth. It does have a slight matte texture to it. Yeah, but the most important thing is there's no sink. And yeah, it all looks rather smooth. Shall we see what the fit's like? If we line it up at the bow, there we go. Well, there's not much play in it. I think once you've got that glued down, there is a little sanding to do to make it smooth, but it's not bad at all. Not bad at all. Yeah. It appears to be slightly wider in the prow there. Yeah. Yeah, there is a bit of sanding to do. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. And obviously when you're gluing it into place, you can line things up as you go, but I think you won't be far off with that. Yeah, all good. Okay, our deck now, and it's a steel deck, so you expect it to be a bit featureless, but on the stern we've got the raised grating quite nicely captured, and all the little tie down points as well are nicely done. Then we've got, this is locations for superstructure. Then we've got the missile mount. We've got the foot of the main gun, and then we've got the chain positions, capstan positions, anchor positions, all there. And then on the underside we've got the roof of the open stern deck there, so that all looks pretty cool. So yeah, I don't see any issues with it. Lovely and tight moulding, very nice actually. Sprue L, another busy sprue with lots of tiny parts. You'd be forgiven for thinking this was a Wadden 700 kit. There are some very tiny parts on this, but they're all very nicely moulded. I haven't seen any flash or anything like that. What I would say though is the parts aren't sort of grouped with the sprues aligned to the construction process. So we've got parts for the lower hull, we've got parts for the mast, we've got bulkheads, radomes, missile silos. We've got all sorts of bits and pieces that are used at different times in the build, so they're not sort of grouped together in that way. But I mean, some of the detail they've got in here is absolutely breathtaking. Let's have a look at part 21. Just look at the finesse of the moulding on that, and then it's been slide moulded to put holes in the top. And it's just really, really nice. There is some lovely moulding going on here. Whoever's designed this kit has absolutely had a lot of fun. Probably a lot of sweat and tears as well, but the end result is definitely worth it. And look at the missile silo. So that'd be a big chunk from anybody else, but look at that. You can see right through it. It's really clever. I mean, you'd think that was 3D printed, but I mean, that's really cleverly moulded. Just shows you what we can do these days. So yeah, nothing wrong with these parts. In fact, they're very, very nice. Sprue O, and again, we've got a mix of parts from lockers to spreaders, lots of different bits of pipe work, and some very, very delicate parts that I can almost guarantee you are going to snap when you try and take those off. This part I'm not sure if it's damaged or not, part 12. It seems to be a very, very funny shape. I think that is damaged. So that's a shame if that's the case. Might be able to straighten it up or replace it with some wire. But yeah, some very fine moulding on here. Really lovely detail, but you're going to have to be very careful with these tiny, tiny parts. Lovely though, I mean, truly nice. This is turning out to be a very nice kit. And look at the detail on that and how delicate it is. Yeah. Some of these parts, removing them, not for the faint-hearted. Sprue J, we've got some larger parts, mainly bulkheads, and we've got the little bit of deck there, and yes, that's the roof section for the hangar there, which is nice, although it's got quite a lot of ejector pins on it. And then we've got, not quite sure what that is, but look at the detail on the bulkhead. I think this is in the hangar. I'm guessing it's the back end of the hangar, but you've got all the cable runs and what have you, as well as the ladders and stuff. I mean, really nice. You paint that all up, give it a wash, you spot it from the as you view through the opening, and it'll just pop. Yeah, really, really lovely. Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. Sprue I's got all sorts of fittings on. So you've got bollards and the life raft canisters and stuff, the shaft lines, anchor shaft. The propellers are quite nice as well. Obviously they're a little bit over scale in terms of thickness, which you'd expect at 350 scale, but they are very nicely done, as are these little A-frames. Now usually the A-frames seem to have tons and tons of seam, but these have only got a slight bit of seam, so the cleanup on these will be nice and easy. So yeah, no real issues. Some really tiny parts again, so yeah, you're definitely going to need your magnifying glasses. Sprue N, and we've got some mast details which are very nicely moulded. We've got the helicopter 2 halves, which are nicely done. Obviously it's not clear plastic, so you're going to have to paint the windows in, a couple of ships' boats. And then I think this is a bit odd, but you've got the 2 stand uprights for the display base. in grey when the display base is in black. So that's a bit of a weird one for me. That I don't think they're particularly attractive. I mean, they are big chunks of plastic, and we've got no sink, so they're well done. But yeah, they're quite ugly. Next, we've got a couple of superstructure parts. So we've got this smaller one where the smokestack ends up going on, which is nice. And then we've got this, which has got the openings in and walkways. We get photo etched doors to go on there, but looks really nice. The surface detail is good with the ventilation grills and what have you. Yeah, very nicely done. I don't see any issues with that. And then we've got this, which is the bridge. And you've got, well, all sorts of details on here, electrical conduit and what have you. Very, very nicely done with watertight doors and things. And then you've got this section of bridge where you'd have to paint the windows, but all looks very nice and tight. And then you've got an option of not using that and using that. So they've given you exactly the same thing, but in clear parts. There is no difference. I've had a good look at it. There is no difference. It's exactly the same part, only it's clear. So you get clear windows and then you can paint them in. I absolutely love that. I'll be using that. In fact, if you wanted to, you could not paint any of it and see into the bridge, because we've got bridge detail. So yeah, that's a nice option, and I quite like that way of doing it. Yeah, I wouldn't have even bothered with that one. I'd have just given us that. Because if you don't fancy having clear windows, for whatever bizarre reason, you just paint it all over grey and then paint them in black like you've done with the other parts. Yeah, no, I like that. Really good. Main superstructure base now, and again, very nicely detailed. We've got life rings on there, all the doors, the grab rails and what have you, portholes in there, very nicely done. Lovely vertical ladder detail. A little bit of seam clean up in a couple of places, but it's very, very light. They capture the look of the front of it really nicely as well. And then of course we've got on the top here, we've got more decks, and then we've got the bridge with the command chairs and the screens and stuff in. Looks really, really good. And yeah, let's just put the clear part on so you get a visualization of it. Just gonna cut that off the back. There we go. That just plops into place like that. The fit is lovely. Fit is really, really nice. That looks fantastic. Yeah, I'm impressed with that. I am really impressed. Our little turned brass cannon, I mean, it's really nice. It's not oversized. I mean, it really is beautiful, and it's got an open end. So yeah, lovely. Then of course the bit that everybody dreads about a modern warship, the 200 bits of photo etch you need to make the radar. Oh, they've given us a 3D printed one instead. Brilliant. And it looks stunning. I don't want to break this apart, but you'll see when I take some photographs, you can see the honeycomb pattern. It's absolutely spot on. Really delicate. Absolutely perfect. It's got the curvature as well. That is a thing of beauty. So there you have it, the Foreart HMS Coventry Type 42 Guided Missile Destroyer Batch 1 in 1 to 350 scale. What's my first impression? Whoa, what a pleasure it was going through that kit. Let's start with the packaging. Packaging's a bit flimsy for my liking these days, but no worse than anybody else's. So whilst it's not up there with the best, we've got a nice top opening box. It's nice and colourful, you know, it's okay. Most things are in individual bags. In fact, I'd even argue that there's too many bags. You could get the lower hull, the upper hull, the deck in one of those bags rather than having 3. So there's probably a little bit of excessive packaging, I would argue, but again, you know, something or nothing. Instruction manual, nice, very clear, colourful. Once you get used to the key, it'll be no problem to follow. A couple of question marks over the production flow, whether you'd actually build the kit in the exact flow they've done. I personally, I could see where I wouldn't, but I didn't see anything that was fundamentally a why have you done that. So yeah, all good one way or another. And I thought a nicely presented instruction manual. No colour call outs as you go, it's all done at the end, which, you know, on a warship you can get away with to a certain degree, you know, because you've got a limited number of colours, but you do have individual colours on there, and it would be nice to have highlighted those when you went out. So, you know, the radomes, for example, they've got them as white. That's incorrect. They're a sort of very, very pale blue colour to them. So, you know, there's bluey green colour. In fact, they're a much paler version of that colour, to be honest, rather than white. So it's worth doing your own research around these things just to be doubly sure. Photo etch parts, it's nice that they've included them. Some of them are very, very fragile, so this isn't a beginner's kit by any stretch of the imagination. Some of the photo etch you could leave off, other bits you probably couldn't, but it certainly adds some really nice detail and complexity to the kit. I really like the fact that they'd included windscreen wipers. That was very cool and very unusual, so kudos to them for that. Plastic parts themselves, I thought the moulding was beautiful, crisp, very tight, very sharp, lots and lots of detail in there, some detail that I was surprised to see. So yeah, all very good. A few ejector pin marks here and there, and other than a little bit of sink on one of the main mast surfaces, it was all okay. Not much in the way of clean up, but some tiny parts. Yeah, some very, very tiny parts, and again, you're gonna have to be extremely careful removing some of those that you don't break them. Some of this stuff, you know, might be worth having some fine gauge brass wire to hand for some replacements. But yeah, very nice. Then you've got the decals. You've got all the main decals plus depth markers, which was nice. Flags, which you can make work. So yeah, I didn't have any particular issues with the decals. Register was good. Color saturation was okay. I wasn't sure if the roof one was a little bit pale, but if you think about the sunlight and stuff on it, maybe that would be right under UV conditions. So yeah, I like that they've done a Falklands version. I think she's an underrepresented vessel in kit form, so it's really nice to have her along. And this, to be honest, is one of the nicest ship models I've ever reviewed. It blows Tamiya out of the water, certainly blows Trumpeter out of the water. Obviously we've not checked things like hull dimensions and stuff like that. If they've got that correct and bang on, then yeah, that's a a really, really nice model. Things that were my highlights, so I've already mentioned the wipers. The 3D printed radar is a brilliant solution, will add some real finesse and class to the model. So yeah, that was very nice. Things that could be improved: no rigging plan at all. That's something they really should have done for me. That could have been done. It would cost them very little to put that in the instructions. They don't have to supply the materials. They've also not told you about lengths for some of the whip and antennas and stuff, which again, really, I think they should do. It's a shame that we didn't have the companionway ladders in photo etch so that they could be deployed if you wanted to. I think that would have been a nice little touch. But it's all fairly minor bits and pieces, that, isn't it? You know, I really love the clear part. I think that's a great way to go for model ships going forward. I think that's whoever's had that nice idea needs a pat on the back, because that's a good one. Yeah, all in all, a really, really nice kit. So, you know, if like me, I mean, I was 12 during the Falklands War, and I remember it very clearly. So, you know, that was my first memory of a hot war. So yeah, this really spoke to me. So I picked this up at Telford. In the UK, you can pick it up from Tiger Models, and yeah, it's a very, very nice kit. So if you like your ships, particularly your Cold War ships, yeah, this is definitely one you should consider shoving in the stash, because it's a pretty nice model. Okay, there you go. If you've not heard of them before, you now have. And if you had heard of them but wondered what they were like, you now know. So thank you very much for looking in. I hope that was helpful or useful. And until I next see you, you enjoy your modelling. Bye for now.